Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Omar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire. Today, we are joined by the dynamic father and son duo that created the Chef Joy D brand, combining traditional skills with contemporary vision. They are redefining what it means to work as a family in the food industry. Welcome to Dining Room Stories, Joe and Max Di Cintio. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We know you are very busy people. So, What inspired the creation of Chef Joy D and how did it come to life?
Okay, well, it all started a little bit before COVID, actually. So COVID was an interesting time where people started experimenting with a lot of projects. And just before COVID started, actually, Dad, obviously being a chef for so many years and experimenting with lots of flavors and textures, he started actually making the chili crisp in his restaurant. He started giving it to customers, family, friends, and he was getting really good feedback. Nothing really eventuated, but one of his great customers in the fruit industry and a good friend of ours sort of encouraged Dad to make it a product. But as I said, nothing really eventuated. Then in COVID, when Dad was home with us, had a little bit more time on his hands, the idea sort of started to become more of a possibility and it came to life. And during this time, me having a bit of an interest in business, we sort of merged and I came into the scene a bit, making our website, our social media, and pretty much during COVID, we decided to launch it and to actually start the business. So yeah, we started off with our Instagram page, 0 followers, a fresh website.
Everybody starts from zero.
Exactly
They
right.
don't understand how much work there is behind.
Exactly right. And we didn't think too much about it. We just launched, and from then on, we've learned.
Did you study marketing at school, at university?
Yeah, so at university, I studied commerce, and one of my majors was marketing. So I definitely learned a little bit at uni, but definitely working on the business and actually applying all of that knowledge, that's when I've actually seen the results sort of come.
And how is it working with your father?
Do
you ever have disagreements?
Oh, of course, we have our disagreements like any duo probably do. But for the most part, I think, we've got the same values, the same sort of way of thinking. So we actually work really well together. And it is, there's a lot of laughs along the way. And
you can tell, it's in your videos online and it shows a lot of authenticity. It's fun.
Yeah.
They are really fun to watch.
Thank
Joe,
you.
are you are a chef by trade?
Yes, I'm a chef of, sometimes I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm going to be entering my 41st year as a chef.
Wow, compliments.
Amazing,
Thank you. Thank you very much. There's not many of us around that started with me back in 84, but I'm still here, mate. And you know what's funny? After all these years, people often ask me, they come to the restaurant and say, oh my God, you're still on the tools. How do you do it? I have to say, I love what I do. When you sort of leave school and you're trying to find out what you're going to do and what you're going to be, who knows, I chose this industry. I just stumbled on it really. And you know what? I think it was designed for me. I've loved it since day one and I continue to love it now.
You can tell. I've been to your restaurant, Grazia, in East Malvern.
Yes.
When did it start? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, no problems. So we started back in May of 2023. The vision started about 3 years before that because I've got 2 business partners in the business, and the funny thing is I've been in business for a long time, since 1991. I've always been involved with partners and I've had an amazing experience with the partners I had. But in 2019, when we sold our last business, Sette Bello, I wanted a break. Not knowing COVID was around the corner, I thought, you know what, we've been going for a long time here. Let's have a little bit of a break. And my partners sort of didn't feel the same way. They just wanted to keep going, which is fantastic. And they asked me for my blessing and I gave them my blessing and they went on to bigger and better things, which was great. I wanted a break, and coincidentally the year after COVID came in, and I think I was the happiest guy in COVID. I have to
it was
say.
a really
I had
good
no
decision.
stress, no pressure. It was just a stroke of luck, really. But it also gave me the time to think about my next move. And I live in East Malvern. I've opened up in my backyard. It was never the plan. But one day I drove past this shop. I saw an auction sign and I thought, you know what? This is the perfect location. And the rest is history.
You nailed the market in that area.
I
well
think
done.
so. I think so. You know what it is? I've lived in the area. We've lived in the area for 25 years. You know what? It's in a way very undercated. There's no real good Italian restaurants in the area. And I thought, you know what? I don't have to recreate the wheel here. I can do what I do. And obviously, if I do it well, if I get the right price point, if I offer the people in the area something different, and that includes, for example, the fit out, try and do something a little bit special where people are going to want to come into the restaurant. Really, all I wanted to do was create something unique in the area, and the combination of all those things we spoke about is what I really tried to achieve.
You did. Who
Thank
was Grazia?
Who was?
Who was Grazia?
Okay, good question. Grazia was my grandmother. My grandmother came from Sicily in the late 70s. She was a beautiful woman. She lived with us. She taught me so many things, and one of those things was cooking. She had a unique way of doing things, and you know what? I never planned to be a chef, but you know what? When I look back today, I see the things that she used to do and how I used to watch her do them. And I think that gave me the inspiration to be the person I am today.
Absolutely. It shows a lot, especially your Italian heritage.
Yes.
She was from Sicily, right?
She was from Sicily, from the islands, Isole Olie. So there's 7 islands in Sicily. She was born on the island of Lipari.
Lipari is my favorite island in all of Italy.
It is. It's
I always
beautiful.
go there every summer.
Wow. I'm actually going there this year. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, Lipari is really beautiful. Also, like Salina is really famous for the capperi.
Yes.
The capperi with salt.
Oh, I love it.
Like, yeah, the food in Sicily, it's so tasty.
It
right?
is. It is.
And so that's where like the passion from food and the tradition is coming. So how do you live this like, passage between, being Italian heritage, having your Italian heritage and melting this with Australian culture?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I'm first generation Australian. My parents are Italian. I was born here in Australia.
Però parli buon italiano, no?
Well, you know what's funny? Parlo l'italiano. I don't know if it's buono,
No, ma lo
parlo
parli bene.
perché it's all the chefs that I've worked with. They're tutti italiani, vengono là, they come to the restaurant and they're talking Italian. Sometimes, mate, if you can't talk Italian, you can't communicate. And it's funny how I've learned over the years, I've also traveled a lot to Italy as well, which I absolutely love. It's like my second home. I mean, my dad's got nobody in Australia, so all his family's in Pescara, Abruzzo. So, I love to go and visit there and catch up with all my cousins and just learn about their life and all that. But the thing about the restaurant, the restaurant industry and what I'm doing with myself definitely comes from my parents, the love of cooking, the love of sitting around the table with family and enjoying good food. That's where I've got the culture from. But also I do have a lot of passion with food, with hospitality, with, trying to create something for people so they can walk out of the restaurant and have a smile on their face. And that I think comes from the heart.
Yeah, hospitality, it's like really important, like when you actually engage with people.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about like reviews and stuff and all like the digital marketing stuff with Max. But yeah, I would like to understand from your perspective, like since you're second generation Australian, right? How do you feel like about your heritage and when you're going to learn Italian?
Yeah, that's a good question. When my dad teaches me.
That's right. So, Joe, you haven't done your job, right?
You know what's funny? Andrea, I've always tried to push the Italian on my kids. And when they were younger, don't worry about it. I'm not interested. All these things, right? And I always used to say to them, you know what? One day you're going to regret this. And you know what it is? The older both my kids are getting, the more they want to learn about Italian. And they haven't missed the boat, but, you know, better start later than never.
I would definitely love to be able to learn Italian. And Dad, we always joke about this because Dad says that, you know, that we didn't want to learn. But when I was 2 years old, I didn't have an urge to learn Italian, but now I do.
Well,
but anyway, I feel very lucky to have the Italian heritage and to be brought up in a family where food and, as we were saying, hospitality and cooking is such a central part of our lives. Also lucky that my mum as well, she's a great cook too. So I've had both perspectives, which has been great, and also nonna and nonno being really good cooks as well. So I've been lucky in all the food departments, really.
So can you cook pasta al dente?
Beautifully.
Oh,
Yeah?
I've taught him. Oh, yeah. In our house, we only eat pasta al dente.
That's great.
Yeah.
But also, like, you know, sometimes like when you got fresh pasta, it can be a little bit like softer. But, you know, in Australia, like it's slightly different, I would say. In Italy, we have like more, it's like a simple pasta, right? In Australia, they love a little bit more a salsa, non un po' di sauce.
Yes, yeah.
Or
a
they
bit more
complain.
ingredients, a bit more flavour.
It's like, there's nothing in play, what's it?
It's so true,
Right.
so true.
I'm not exactly a chef, but I have picked up a few things from Dad.
Do you work
Definitely.
in the restaurants as well sometimes?
I don't actually, no. I'm just, I'm on the other side of the kitchen eating.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's the best side.
the best side.
Joe, did you always hope that Max would follow your footsteps as a chef, or what was your
Okay,
idea?
if I
behind?
have to be totally honest, no. You know, I love the industry and I wouldn't change what I've, you know, the path I've taken for anything, but I actually didn't want my kids to follow in my footsteps. The industry is, I love the industry, but it's, you know, sometimes it's strange, you know, and I just thought, you know, I was able to provide my kids with the best possible education. But if my son turned around and said, Dad, I want to be in the restaurant industry, I would have embraced that. But I think from an early age, Max made it very clear that he wasn't going to be in hospitality. And that was fine. I was happy with that.
What do you think of today's economy?
Well, the economy today is in at the moment of finding that people are a little bit reserved to spend. I don't think the money's flowing as freely as it did a few years ago. I have noticed quite a change in the last 6 months that the economy is tightening up and people are tightening up. And I think restaurants that offer some form of value, like I believe Grazia does, where our price point is like at a medium price point, I think is the place to be in our industry today. A lot of the high-level type restaurants that charge, you know, the premium price, and I do understand why they do it, because obviously, you know, everything they do, including staff, is at the top. I think it's going to be a difficult path for them just at the moment.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Thank
Now
yes.
you need some sort of value as a
100%.
consumer as well. You are
Yes.
looking for
Yes.
that value.
And I would say it's also like about the experience. Like today, you know, you need to show on social media where you're going, where your friends, you know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
more also like people want to choose a place where they can have a good exposure and say, hey, I went to Grazia, it's the coolest place in the area, right?
Well, that's right, yeah. You know what it is? Like, you know, today, people go to restaurants, obviously for the food, for the service, but people want something different. You know, they and you know what it is sometimes, and I say this to my staff all the time, you know, when you open the front door to greet a customer in, it doesn't cost you anything. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You start the whole experience off on a positive note.
Yes.
You know, and that's what I think the little differences are that can make a really big difference in your business.
Joe, a little bit of a controversial question. Do you think that food sometimes is a byproduct of restaurants? Is a secondary thing? I know for a chef it's very hard.
You know
but
what? Sometimes it is. And I see that today, especially being on social media myself, and I see it even in my customers. And I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. Because I work in a restaurant that has an open kitchen, I've never had this luxury before. I've seen so many things that I've never been able to see before. because I've always been stuck behind four walls. And you know, one thing I notice is, you know, it sort of makes me laugh just thinking about it. The customer orders their food, we prepare their meal, it gets delivered to their table, and to me, the most logical thing to do is to eat the food. But for people, they get the camera out, they're taking photos of the food, moving the plate left and right, standing up, you know.
I recently heard a very strange expression from my PR manager.
Yes.
Phone eats first. Never heard it.
No, that's
right.
But you
That's
know what?
completely
Isn't it true? Are
It
you
is.
experiencing that
It is
too?
a lot.
Isn't it? People, you know, people come and obviously with the Grazia being a new place, my God, they walk in the front door with the phone already in their hand.
I do that too.
Oh,
You do that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You do
absolutely.
That too. Like, you get in
maybe
here.
I'm too old. I don't do
Is
that.
it
but-
better to have an open kitchen or a closed
Oh,
kitchen?
you know what? I've never had an open kitchen, and now that I've had, I would never go back to a closed
You know what
one.
I've seen? That an open kitchen actually calms chefs.
Yes, because they don't have a choice.
Correct. They feel the pressure of,
It's so
being
true.
watched.
It's so true. And you know what a lot of people compliment or comment, I should say, when they walk past the kitchen, like to go upstairs to the dining room. It's like a theatre, you know? Like, you know, you see all the hustle and bustle of the people working behind the scenes, a bit of the fire, the smoke, you know, the pizza oven, the smells, all the senses are activated. People love it.
It's beautiful. Max, do you ever feel the pressure of proving yourself outside your father's experience?
That's a good question.
You have a big example in the family.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, Dad's someone that's very well respected in the industry, but I have to give credit to him. He doesn't ever put any pressure. So it would only be self-pressure, but not so much. I'm confident in what we're doing. And, you know, I believe the products he makes are great. And so it's sort of up to me to market it to the world. But it's really funny because as soon as you get the camera out, Dad just comes alive. He makes it very easy for me.
Can you give us some insights? Because what you guys are doing in social media, the product is amazing,
Thank you.
but he's doing a great job with the marketing.
You know,
Thank you.
we complement each other.
Like a lot.
It's not one, we can't be successful one without the other. It's together.
Give us some insights, please.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think initially when we started off using, it was a bit more about the product. We would post photos of our product and we wouldn't really show much of our personalities and character. And as soon as we changed that way of thinking, and I decided, no, we need to film ourselves, particularly Dad, because I think he's a funny character. I think we really noticed a change, and that's when, you know, we saw our page growing. So I think just being authentic to ourselves, having fun, that's really like what our brand, we want it to be about. Fun, lighthearted, bit of humor. So if we can convey that to our audience, then we've done a good job. And that's really what I try and
It really
do.
shows from your videos.
Thank you.
I've seen that you guys do a lot of collaborations with other brands. Is this a marketing strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, though, to be honest, it's just fun. We actually love it, and I love going out to these businesses and meeting them. And for example, we just did a collaboration last week with a bakehouse by Vic in Brighton, and she's a 23-year-old girl, so similar age to me. So it's just really fun to like collaborate with other like-minded people.
Do you select people's first or brands first?
Yeah, that's a good question. And people is very important, probably more so because, you know, for us, we really want to align with good people. And yeah, so, you know, if you've got good people and a great brand and great food, then that's the winning formula.
Does this come from the experience of your father? Because, you know, I've noticed as well myself, you know, when we're young, we're always trying to find everybody. When we get a little bit older, we get a little bit more selective and looking at the values and the people. Because problem counts anyways.
Of course.
If you don't align on something.
Yes.
So
basically, I got the Chef Joy D Chili Crisp in here. That's one of the products. And you say like during like lockdown, you've been kind of like developing this product? There was like your customers loved that. So what happened there? How did you experiment, and how did we get to this?
Okay, so obviously we've been all talking about, we're all the Italian background. My product is actually not really Italian, which is very strange because I'm an Italian trained chef, but I love to dabble in different cuisines. Predominantly my food is Italian, classical type Italian. What I actually made is a sauce that I love to have, and it's basically an Asian style exo sauce. But what I've done is some people say wogified it, or Europeanized it. So what I've done is I've taken the core ingredients of what the Asians use and blended Italian products. For example, Asian people use rice wine vinegar. I use balsamic vinegar. The Asians use mushroom soy. I use soy and porcini powder. So what I've been able to do is create a balance between almost like the East meets West, and come up with something a little bit unique. Because there are a few chili products on the market, quite a few. So I thought this was my point of difference, and it all started from people enjoying the product, and it developed from there.
Yeah, it's great. I think like the fusion side of the Australian restaurant scene is amazing. Personally, like before coming here, I never tried Korean, Ethiopian,
Middle Eastern.
Middle East, I would say. But
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
No, probably, yeah. Like, I like the Lebanese a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Middle East.
me too.
Yeah. And it's so interesting like that I had to move to Melbourne because before, until my 29th, I was like living in Italy. And so now Milan is changing, of course, because Milan is kind of like different city in that sense. It's more European. But back then, the only different restaurants was like, the Chinese restaurant. And it was like, sometimes we were also making pizza. So it's like kind of like not really authentic, right?
Yeah.
And I love that about the Australian culture and fusion.
Well, you know what? The beauty of all of us living in this beautiful country is that we get to experience so many different cultures. And the food is a big part of our lives here in Australia. And the fact that we can, go to a Greek place and get a souvlaki and then go and get a kebab and all these different foods that we're at our disposal and we're able to try. I mean, how blessed are we,
You couldn't do that in Italy.
No,
even
you
if we're
couldn't,
very
no.
lucky, but
Yeah, it's kind of changing slightly, but it's still like, the Italian, we're really, because it's all about the tradition, right?
Yes.
For example, pineapple on the pizza or not?
If I can be honest, I like it.
Yeah,
I like
Me
it.
too.
I like
I love it.
I like it.
It's a little bit.
See,
also,
that's I'm probably going to get
I know what I
kicked
mean.
out of this conversation.
We're talking about
But
tradition.
to me, it's like the sauce I make. It's all about the senses. It's the sweet, the sour, the texture, the crunchy, the smooth, and pineapple. We sell pizza in our restaurant and we don't have a pineapple pizza because the Italians working in the section refuse to put it on. But
Interesting.
it's interesting that, and I'm the boss, so I should be telling them, right? But they're like completely refused, so that's fine. But a little bit of sweetness to me.
So you got the waiters like, oh, when the pizza comes out, you can put the pineapple out.
Yeah, when they're not looking, But
I tried your chili crisp and it's beautiful.
Oh,
but now that
thank
you
you.
explained that, I understand the sweetness, where the sweetness comes from.
Yes.
Thank you. And these products are available at Coles as well now?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, so both of our products, they're available at Coles Local, which is a sort of different type of Coles store. There's a little bit less of them.
When you say both,
What's
it's
the
also
second, like, because we've been talking about the chili sauce, but
the crema di pistachio.
la crema di pistachio.
crema di pistachio.
Yes.
Yes. So you can find them both, at Coles Local. And then we've got over 150 sort of independent grocers, delis that also stock them.
How does the restaurant business differs from the distribution business and the Chef Joy D products?
Yeah, definitely. So that's obviously something we've had to learn together, which has been part of the fun. But obviously we're lucky with Dad already being in the hospitality industry that he is quite well connected and has a lot of contacts in the industry. So that sort of allowed us to have contacts already in the distribution industry, which has helped us out a lot. Yeah.
Great. And how do you manage the production? Is there a specific day where you guys create the product?
Yeah. So Dad's obviously more involved with the production, which everyone will be happy to hear that. You don't want me in charge of it. But basically with our chili crisp, we have sort of like set days. So usually once per month where we make a big batch of our chili crisp, and from there we jar it, label it, and that's all sort of hand done.
Amazing. I love family businesses.
Yeah. And it's hard to, we love to sort of keep that tradition. Like it's really fun to do. And but as we sort of, for certain customers, for example, Coles Local, we have the product manufactured in a facility, and same with our pistachio.
Amazing. How do you separate business from family? Does it blend together?
No, I think quite easily actually, because, you know, first and foremost, we're father and son, we're a family, and, you know, there are other members in the family. But now that we're sort of working together in a business environment, you know, we sort of choose our times of when we can, speak about things, because obviously with other members of the family around, not that we can't speak about business, but, you know, they don't want to hear about it all the time. Mm-hmm. So we sort of dedicate times where we can sit together, you know, around a table and discuss what we need to discuss and work out our plan of attack. And, you know,
have you find your balance in this new business or not yet?
Yeah, look, it didn't happen easily, you know, finding the balance, because, you know, running a pretty busy restaurant that we run, finding extra time to do other things. But you know what it is, it's like everything in life, it's all about a balance. Absolutely. So I make time to do everything I need to do, and that includes my social life as well, because life is not all about work. I do like to enjoy myself as well.
And as business owners, sometimes we don't enjoy ourselves.
Well, that's true.
It's all about work,
time doesn't
work.
allow it, you know. And finding the balance. I mean, you know, it's taken me. People used to say to me, you know, maybe you should delegate better, you know. And you know what the thing is, you know, I'm not young. I'm probably stuck in my, you know, old ways, where everything I do, you know, I think is the best type thing. And you know, it's hard to sort of hand the baton to somebody else, because it's taken me 40 years to get to where I am today. And I just don't want to let go of it overnight. And that's why I'm still working on the tools. I do that because I'm very passionate and I love what I do. But I also know that, you know, when the customer walks in the restaurant and they see me behind the kitchen, it just gives them an element of confidence. It makes a lot
of difference.
I think so.
You know, you have that authority that somebody's there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm. Thank you.
And also, yeah, I think like the previous generation, I mean, they were like really dedicated to work. Sometimes like today, you know, like we hear that like young people are lazy. What do you think about that? You go first.
Yeah, okay.
Max, you
I want to hear Dad's answer to this question.
Okay. You know what I've learned, you know, with my experience working with my son is, and plus I do work with a lot of people my son's age, it's just a different mentality, and it's something I've had to learn. You know, like back in the old days, it's just work. You know, stop being lazy, don't have too long of a break. The world has changed. There's parameters that we have to work within. There's time constraints, certain hours people can work each day. I think the younger generation have taught us older generation a lot of things. And, you know, it's about, you know, finding the time and maybe taking a step back and maybe taking it a bit easier in some regards, because sometimes we used to just do things spontaneously without thinking too much. I just think they've taught us a different way to do things, which has, I think, improved.
Yeah, and I think like in Australia, from my experience, when I came from Milan is like really like, it's like Sydney in a sense. Like
hustle and bustle.
Yeah, so when I came to Melbourne, actually at the beginning I was like, oh, people seem a little bit more lazy here. But then I started like digging into the culture, and it's so beautiful because at the end of the day, I don't think that we're less productive here compared to Sydney. But like when you come here, just like, you know, it's more relaxed. So that's why one of
Feels
the
a little
elements
bit
that I
different.
love about this city, right? And it's probably also because a lot of immigration was like kind of Mediterranean, so we have this kind of like culture. But also, you know, I think Australian, like, you invented the weekend, right? It's been invented in Australia. It's also like,
Which one? Weekend.
the weekend.
What's that? I've never heard of that word.
No, maybe I'm wrong. Guys. If I'm wrong,
Oh, you mean Saturday, Sunday?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like, the weekends. Really interesting. So in general, I would say, because of course, Max, you got like a more young like mentality and stuff. How did you drive your dad to actually moving from the kitchen to the actual like be in front of the camera on social media?
I find him to be very hungry, and that really reflects on me. So I think actually he reflects such a good work ethic onto me. And, you know, I've got to just remind him that being a little bit funny and silly on the camera, people love it, as you guys have sort of said, which is great entertainment for all of us.
Yeah, I think it's like, definitely you have a lot of energy. Like I can feel it. Like you got a lot of energy. Max, you're a beautiful energy, but it seems like you are more, I don't know. You think, I don't know,
Focused.
focused, right?
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
And like you told me also, you got like a background in, you studied
Commerce.
comms, like,
Yeah, so went to university after school and
Yeah.
did my studies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, but do you like also like this, you know, marketing part, right? So, and
Absolutely.
I'm really curious about you. For example, like, let's say, have you tried like influencers marketing? How do you think it's effective?
We have tried it a little bit, probably not to its full extent. And it's worked well for us on a few occasions, definitely. I think finding the right person. So initially when we started, I remember clearly actually, I just searched in Instagram food influencers. The first 10 or so that I found, sent them all some of our chili crisp,
Okay.
and sort of found like it didn't work actually that well.
Okay.
So it's really important to find people that align with your brand and have the same sort of values, which we're sort of working with one at the moment. And that's proving to be quite successful. So I think, it's really important to find the right influencer for your brand rather than just going for any.
I believe influencers marketing was more effective a few years ago, but now everybody became an influencer.
Yeah.
You know, and their following understand that. So you are shilling every product every single week.
Exactly.
And then everybody lost credibility, basically.
Yeah.
You can't say every product is the best all the time.
Of course.
Exactly. There's a lot of that.
That's
So
what's happening,
That's why
I think.
it is dying a little bit. And that's why you need to find the real sort of authentic people that don't just promote every product they get sent, but they promote the
Absolutely.
ones that they actually believe
If I can
in.
say something about influencer marketing in 2025, like we're moving out from like big accounts with a lot of like numbers, like, you know, 100,000, 200,000 followers to small ones. Because at the end of the day, it's the same concept. Like when you have a restaurant in a suburb, for example, people want to see something that is more local compared to just big personalities. Of course, if you get like a celebrity or someone like that is really famous, that's gonna change. But I think the trend is gonna still change this year. But what people are looking and what they actually want to see is authenticity. That's the biggest difference.
It's been since social media started, but we lost track a little bit, and then now we are reverting to authenticity again. And you see the numbers and the algorithm doesn't lie.
Because we follow the algorithms, right? So that's the point. But most of the time it's like you don't really need like a massive exposure. Like for example, like with this podcast, we're happy if like the right people are gonna see that and enjoy it.
And
know
as
what
you
I mean?
said, people that align with our values.
Yes.
And you
Exactly.
certainly do.
Thank you.
And one thing I've noticed, so over the last sort of 1 to 2 years, I think founder-led content has really been the new trend. So that's something that we've focused more and more on. And that's working well for other brands as well.
Where do you see Chef Joey D in 5 years?
Yes, that's a great, exciting question. Very exciting. So I see Chef Joey D being a bigger player in the Australian market with an expansive range of products. I can see us having our own space, nice big factory, producing lots of products, collaborating with more businesses, and expanding interstate.
How do you differentiate from other products? Let's say other pistachio cream. Is that the product or is the story behind the product?
Well, first and foremost, I believe quality of product is very important to our brand, especially given my dad's background and experience as a chef. But in saying that, it's more and more now about our story and us as people. And I think that's what really sets us apart from others.
That's cool because like, so before we done, we just actually chatting about pistachio is big in Sicily, right? So
Yes.
one of my favorite like sandwich that I tried in Sicily is the one with mortadella, a mortazza,
Yes.
e il pistachio.
Yes.
So it's like, did you find inspiration from like your Sicilian background to actually choose to actually create like a pistachio cream, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's where the inspiration came from. Traveling overseas, been to Sicily many times, and everywhere you go in Sicily, you see crema di pistachio.
Yes.
Coming back to Australia, it was very difficult to find any, or impossible to find a locally made product, and that's how the idea started. And we just thought, wow, what an opportunity there is here to make something unique that's Melbourne based or Australian made. And that's how the idea started. And there was a lot of trial and error before we got the formula right. And, and we're here today, which is, it's been a long journey, but it's been really good.
Yeah, I think it's great. And also like sometimes like some products we need to import them. Like, I mean,
Of
Parmigiano
course.
Reggiano is different. Then we can talk about different, like,
Yes.
for example, the burrata or la
Yes.
stracciatella. We have like, that's Amore, for example. It's like an amazing brand that does
Yes.
great cheese. And sometimes I'm surprised how good it is.
Yes.
And it's also like they experiment on different things. But for example, like a chili oil or something else, like we don't really need to import it, like, because it's
Yeah.
Chilean oil, right? We can make it Australian.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, but not everybody can make it.
Okay.
Like the old,
You need a great chef, right?
well, you know how it is. Like, we're all brought up in an Italian background, and, we've probably all had chili on our food.
Yes.
And, Mum used to get the chili, chop the chili, fry the chili. They put a little bit on your pasta, and people would say, oh, wow, that's amazing. Where can I buy that? Well, you can't buy it anywhere. This is what Mum makes at home. But you know what it is? The opportunities are arisen. People are prepared to buy things and pay for things that they can't necessarily do at home, whether it be, time constraints or whatever. And that's where all these products have come from and been very successful too.
Yeah. I like, for example, like I love chili oil. I know the flakes are, it's okay, but I don't
Yeah.
really like it. I like when at a restaurant, like especially Italian, they got like the chili oil. And
Yes.
It's kind of like homemade, right?
Yes.
I just love it.
Yeah, well, you can't go wrong. Natural product.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like our pistachio. It's our crema di pistachio has got 5 ingredients. It's a very simple product. It's quality driven. We source the best pistachios we can find. It's a 46% pistachio product.
And this is what the consumer is looking for in today's market.
Of course.
I've been to the supermarket last time. I took a bread and there were 26 ingredients. Like, how sad and how is it
That's
even
right.
possible?
I know. Well, it's funny. Things have changed a lot over the years. And it's funny, when I walk into a supermarket, sometimes I actually stand back, have a look at what people do. And they grab a product off the shelf and they actually read the ingredients, like the ingredient. To find a product that's got 20 ingredients.
But there's also
and
very
another
few
10
choice now.
Yes, that's
Like
right.
you can't find, products with few ingredients.
Yes, well, that's right. And you know what? That's just opened the doors of opportunity, because making products that are more natural-based products, and they don't have to, you don't have to put a lot of preservatives in to make them last a long time. People will, if a product is good, they get used pretty quickly. So
Is it true that they cost more?
the natural products? No, I don't know if I agree with that, actually. Not necessarily. It depends sort of what product you're making, you know. It depends on what the ingredients are, you know. But it's like everything, you know. If you have to go and buy a kilo of bird's eye chili today, it costs you $25 off the shelf a kilo. But, you know, when you start buying in bulk, you know what I mean? The opportunities are there.
Yeah. So do you think like a little bit of chili every day is good in life?
Well, let me tell you, have a look at me. I have chili every single day. So do my kids, my
I'm the
daughter.
same.
We eat it all the time. And I'll tell you something, being in the restaurant game, everybody asks for chili.
Yeah.
It's actually really shocked me. It doesn't matter what background you come from, everybody loves chili.
I love chili. And I think it's like really good for health.
Yeah.
But also like, let's say how do you handle, for example, like to change slightly topic, you know, at the restaurant, how do you handle when people complains about something or they just want to make a big change to your menu? What do you do?
Yeah. Look.
Open kitchen, eh?
Yeah. No, you know what it is? Realistically, you know, we don't get a lot of complaints, but you always get people come into the restaurant because they've got preconceived ideas of what and the way things should be. I actually blame social media and television for that.
Okay.
People come into our restaurant and they might order a marinara, for example, and this actually did happen once. A customer came in and ordered a marinara and they actually sent the marinara back. And I thought to myself, I said to the waitress, I said, well, what's the problem with the marinara? Oh, the customer said it's not authentic marinara because it doesn't have cream in it. And I said, well,
we're going to talk about this.
You know, I said, hang on a minute, you know, that's obviously their perception of how a marinara should be, but it actually should not have cream. I mean, if you ask for cream in Italy, they'll probably kick you out of the restaurant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
you know what I mean?
You're right on the authenticity.
You know,
I never had cream in marinara.
Never. I've never heard of it myself. Yeah. But, you know, somebody actually did say that this is not authentic. It doesn't have cream. And I thought, you know what? I can't really help you there. I'm sorry.
And there's like a funny story. Like, so my uncle, my cousin, like when he comes to Italy, a couple of times he ordered the marinara. So they brought like the marinara pizza. That is like the simple pizza, like with just tomato and le acciughe. And he was so disappointed because in his mind, it's like, oh, where's my marinara? You order a marinara.
Marinara in Italy is a pizza.
In Italy, it's like the pizza.
Yes.
It's not that. The marinara is kind of, I don't know if it's an Australian concept, but like we call it marinara. What's like
in Italy, we call it scoglio or pescatore.
Yes, that's right. Frutti di mare.
Depends where you go.
Yeah.
But now marinara is getting, obviously, because of social media, you know, that's the name.
And also like around, for example, like my people that, you know, they are vegetarian or they have some intolerances.
Yes.
Do you like when they tell you first so you can organize?
Well, you know, unfortunately, 99% of the time you don't know. But I have to say, in today's restaurant scene, we're always ready for a lot of intolerances, including celiacs, vegans, vegetarians. You always have to be prepared because every day people request this type of thing, and it's a very serious thing too, because especially with celiacs, you know, when people order a celiac meal, it could be like a pasta, vegetarian celiac, even, you know, we've got to get a special pot of water to keep it away from, you know, so there's no other, you know, allergens, so there's no cross-contamination with flowers or
it's
wheat
not
or
easy. It's getting harder and harder.
It is. And people's expectations are getting higher as well. And people we were even, you know, we do gluten-free pizza at our restaurant.
Okay.
And people have now started, you know, is it in an allergen-free environment and all that? Because there are restaurants in Italy, and I noticed myself when I travelled there, actually have a separate room to make a gluten-free pizza.
I think we got loads around there. That's
a lot.
Why.
Yeah. Well, in Australia, it's not so predominant, you know.
So like, how do you handle like bad reviews, especially for example on Google or like TripAdvisor?
Yeah.
How do you handle them?
Okay, personally, I don't handle them myself. My business partner does, but we always respond to bad reviews, you know, and maybe learn a little bit more about their experience and try and come up with a solution, a way that we can improve their experience on their next visit. You know, we don't brush those things aside. Even from some of our experience, we've actually try to follow up on reviews and find the people so we can communicate with them and try and fix the situation.
You try to call them, right, or find them on Facebook.
And some of the people don't actually exist.
Yeah.
So
no, it's the fake reviews is really bad. Like,
especially with negative reviews,
Yes.
it's rarely about food. It's more out in a restaurant we made them feel.
well, that's yes.
That's what I say to my staff. So
Yes.
we need to be conscious of that part.
Very.
Max, what do you hope customers feel when they experience Chef Joy D products?
Yes, very important to create that experience for them. We want them to feel like they're sitting at our kitchen table having a meal made by Chef Joey D. I guess the idea is you don't need to go to a restaurant. You can have a lovely meal at home, add your chili crisp, and it's like a chef has made it.
Amazing.
And Max, last question, like from my side, obviously, because I love talking to you, because we can talk a little bit more about social media, SEO, and like the digital marketing.
Yeah.
So I would say like more, you would choose social or you would choose like local SEO, Google. So if you have to choose one platform, where would you go?
Probably more into the social media side.
Is that because you're young or because you actually got result and you say like more people are coming to our restaurants or they buy more products because of social media?
Yeah, I think maybe just because I've had more experience with social media, using it myself. I think SEO is something I haven't dabbled with too much, but definitely something that we should. So,
Yeah, I think from my perspective, because I've been doing like SEO 15 years and the
Yeah.
world is actually changing now with AI. It's every 2 months, like something. So I have to update myself too. But in general, I would say like for people that search on Google, the people that are actually looking for a restaurant in one area that they don't actually know, so they don't know where to go and they're searching for like best Italian in Melbourne, for example. While like the social media is more about like create more like an interruption in the fluxes, like when they actually read it out. So both are powerful. I would say like SEO is better for like search, while social media is better for retargeting, because you can create an audience and then, as you know, like when people are gonna buy something for you, that they might just come back. That's
yeah,
it.
absolutely. And I find I've actually started using social media. I think it's becoming more popular to use social media as a search function.
Do you use
as
TikTok?
Well.
Do
Pardon?
you use TikTok to search?
Yeah, I do use TikTok. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Especially
that's-
when you want to find a new bakery or cafe. There's some really good.
It's incredible
videos.
to understand how different generations, find businesses and products, which I wouldn't use TikTok. I would go on Google.
Me too.
Amazing. Last question for Joe. What advice would you give to a young entrepreneur looking to start a business?
I think the most important thing is to believe in yourself, to be persistent, to be prepared for the good and the bad, and always learning. Definitely be persistent and believe in yourself.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much
Grazie mille
for
per
being
essere
at
stati
Dining
qua.
Room Stories. It was a pleasure and an honor having you here.
Thank you. And
Thank
it was
you
a
very
pleasure
much.
to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank
Grazie
you.
mille,
Thank
buona
you, grazie.
giornata. We'll try the pistachio cream at home, okay?
Fantastic. Grazie.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Welcome to Dining Room Stories with Omar and Andrea, where we take you behind the scenes of the restaurant business world with stories and conversation that inspire.